Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It is in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. I am tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. In 2018, Nomos updated its Tangente with the Nomos Tangente Neomatik update, now with a radial date. In 2021, the update gained this midnight blue dial, which brings us to the present day. It's a large watch by Nomos standards. Though described as a 41, at least the nomenclature says 41, it actually measures 40.5. The watch in steel is thin, at 8.3 millimeters thick, impressive given the date complication and the automatic winding. It's a big watch by Nomos standards at 49.4 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Throwing the Tangente on my wrist, you could see that it is broad. That's quite a wingspan for a Nomos. Nomos is famed for making tiny and tinier watches. This is neither. The watch has a full-figured presence on the wrist, the one dimension in which it is not large being thickness, as it will easily slide underneath the dress cuff. I'm going to recommend you have a wrist of my size or larger, as the signature lugs, which define a Tangente in the Nomos collection, they're almost always defined by lugs. That's how they tell their models apart. You could see right here that they're out to the edge of my wrist. From over the top, that's confirmed. So it's a comfortable watch. It's a thin watch, but it's a broad watch. 16 centimeter circumference wrist and up. Shell cordovan strap from the Horween Leather Company. Basically a smooth, poreless horsehide leather. This was the one element that the founder of Nomos absolutely insisted upon. He is not a watchmaker, he is not a watchmaking engineer, but he fell in love with shell cordovan, and that is why the Schwertner family has always preferred these shell cordovan straps on Nomos watches. It is black, it is glossy, it is thick. You can see in profile, it has a sheer cut side showing you the layers of leather and a monotone stitch. It's paired with a counterweighted Nomos pin buckle, and the Nomos pin buckle actually has an elevated bridge, so when the strap is inside the buckle, it doesn't stack up as much, so that's a thoughtful detail that they include. Rolling around the case, everything's in high polish. Those lugs really define the look of the Tangente, and you can see that it also has a very uniform cylindrical case profile. Everything is polished. You'll also note the design parallelism, which Nomos loves, as the thickness of the lug is the thickness of the bezel, is the thickness of the crown when viewed in profile like this. Externally, it's a polished and Nomos branded crown. You can gain access to the bars retaining the strap through the holes in the flanks. And then we have the midnight blue dial, which has a opaline or lightly frosted finish. The printing on the dial is all in a metallic silver, which I like. We have an aperture-based date, and of course this is the update. This is a special date. It can be adjusted in both directions. You can see how it centers itself, and then you read the date in the middle. So this is a bidirectionally settable date. We also have a stop seconds function, so you can stop the seconds hand if you wish to adjust the watch to the second. Also note little details like the fact that the width of the hands matches the stroke weight of the indices, matches the approximate width of the apertures for the date. One thing that I want to show you that's profoundly weird, but Nomos likes to be hip, the date itself is loomed, but nothing else on the dial is. Okay. Turning it all over, you can see the minimalist dial gives way to a surprisingly maximalist movement. Now, this movement is in-house. This is the Deutsche Uhrenwerke 6101. When you see DUW, Deutsche Uhrenwerke, on a Nomos movement, it means it's an in-house caliber and it has their swing system, which is the escapement, the balance, and the hairspring. And the hairspring is blued, so you know it's swing system. But if you see a Nomos caliber that's named after a Greek letter, that's an in-house caliber, but it's not their own assortment. As you can see, it's a big movement. 35.2 millimeters. That's why I call it maximalist. This is one of the largest automatic calibers I've ever seen. We're not quite into IWC 50,000 series territory. Those are over 38, but this is enormous, and you can see how well it fills the case back. You can also see 5 ATM water resistance. Dress watch standard is typically 30. 5 ATM isn't going to make this a swimmable watch, not with a push-down crown, but it's nice to have that extra margin of safety. It beats away at 3 hertz. It's automatic winding. It has a 42-hour power reserve. It pivots on 27 joules and has a full balance bridge anchored on both sides for shock resistance as well as to better brace the balance. You could see that it features Edicron for fine adjustment for beat error and fine timing. I like that. That means it can be adjusted very precisely. We have stripes on the rotor as well as the bridges, engine turning on the base plate. The screws are fired blue. You can see we have polished elements such as the rocker system for the winding mechanism as well as the center of the rotor bearing. It's a good looking movement and really nicely tailored to the case size, which is the mark of a true manufacturer when you don't just have to case up what you've got, but you can make a movement with a case size in mind. Lots to love. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.